Hello, hello, hello. We made it. We are live. Last week we had technical issues. This week it was me that was causing the technical issues because I completely forgot what I was doing. So there's no danger there. Tonight's guest, let me just check my audio. We have got audio. All is good. Let me know where you are watching from. Let me know how you're doing. Let me just move this light over here. There we go. So yes, tonight's guest is a second time interviewee. Natasha Stanley, first comment. Well done, Natasha. Is a second time interviewee. He's a great guy from fantastic stock when it comes to stage hypnosis. I've just seen him. He's appeared twice now. Lose one. Oh, I've lost both of them. So Tommy, definitely make sure you click back on there. All is good. Brilliant. Let me just send him a message. It's like the old days, this, having these technical issues. So yes, Tommy Vee, a fantastic stage hypnotist, a stage hypnosis trainer from fantastic pedigree stock of stage hypnotists. So please do make him feel very welcome. Let me just send him a quick message again. Click back in, buddy. There we go. So yes, there we go. The comments are all coming in here as well. John Steele, photography from Huddersfield. Jeff Bennick says, hi, guys. Natasha Stanley says, hey, Jeff. Everybody's here. Tom is here. And something that is new to us, you may have seen it over the past couple of weeks, is this week we have the comment snake. That means every time you comment, you get put at the head of the snake where you get your chance to be the tip. And every time we get a new commentator, the snake gets bigger and bigger. So without further ado, please make him feel very welcome. The one, the only, the legend that is Tommy Vee. There he is. Oh, there he is.
You're
there we go. We made it. How are you?
I'm great, Grant. You're too kind with that intro. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's fantastic. I mean, you know, the last time we spoke, it was the middle of the pandemic.
Okay.
The world was a very different place. How are things with you?
Good. I thought it was only a few months ago, but I guess it was more than that. I did talk to you via Natasha's phone, I think, when we were in Vegas.
Yes.
You were out on the road working, I think.
Yes.
Things are good. I don't think everything's back up to par yet as far as entertainment and shows and stuff, but it's getting better. I am getting inquiries for shows even for next summer. And my clinical office is doing okay too. So can't complain, but we're not quite back to full force. Hey.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it's, inquiries for me are coming in later and later. Like Christmas is, people are still a bit worried about what Christmas is going to be this year. But the most important thing is we are out there. The shows are coming in and things are getting there. So that's all we can hope for as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, since we last spoke, you lost your father, who was a legend within the industry as well. And so, thoughts to you and the family and everything for that. That must have been a very difficult time. And again, for being in the industry, to see the outpouring of thoughts and feelings from him was for me, was nice to see. So it must have been amazing for you to kind of see that as well.
Thank you again. Yeah, he was great, and he taught me everything I know about stage hypnosis. So I had that opportunity to learn from Dad, and because when he started, there were no videos, there's no classes, there was Orman's book, and my dad would learn and follow another hypnotist, Sam Vine, who was a great Canadian hypnotist who played throughout the U.S. And Sam gave my father some great advice. And then my father started doing it for free in nightclubs, like at bottom of the barrel. That's, boot camp. So he started, but when I started, he took all those bumps out for me and taught me, and I started doing shows right away. My first show actually was with my dad. It's a great way to start. We did a 2-person show, which I've done several times since then with other people.
It must be such an unusual dynamic to be doing a show with your father as well. So that's always different. We know what us stage hypnotists are like for ego, but to put the kind of the paternal ego in there as well, that must have been really kind of unique.
Yeah. He loved to share though, and we taught together, and with Ormond too. I venture to say my dad and Ormond were probably the first ones to start stage hypnosis training,
Yeah.
to the best of my knowledge. And back then we had huge classes, like 50 or 60 people. Now there are several options for people to learn stage hypnosis, and classes have gotten smaller. Um,
Yeah.
Stage hypnosis keeps going. It's a great form of entertainment. I tell people, because it's audience participation. A magician is awesome to watch. A singer is great. Comedian's awesome. But when a stage hypnosis show, when somebody from your table is in the show, it's so much better, I think.
Yeah. There we go. Natasha Stanley says, tell us about your conference, Tommy.
Oh, Natasha, my good friend. Oh, my Natasha, for those of you that don't know her, and I don't imagine anybody that doesn't know her, she is a bundle of energy, a lover of life and people, and just fun to be with. And I can't wait to see her next time. She's probably my conference. I'm not sure what she's referring to. Maybe my training, or I don't know, Natasha.
Oh.
If you could clarify a little bit that.
She might be talking about the Ultimate Stage Hypnosis Conference, which is where we first met in Vegas,
Right.
many years ago now, which was a great thing. And I know I've mentioned this before. I think it would be great to bring that back. There's lots of conferences out there that have different specialities, and I see a few of them now are bringing that stage hypnosis track to it as well, which is great to see that. It's like hypnotherapists are accepting more of stage hypnosis now. But yeah.
Well, I think she's referring to the National Guild of Hypnotists, which happens around a few weeks after Hypnothoughts. I think that's what she means. Jeff Bennick, it was great. Yeah, Michael DeShalit and I and my dad put together that stage hypnosis conference, which was for stage hypnotists. It wasn't to learn stage hypnosis; it was for established or new hypnotists, new stage hips, and to hone your skills and to do better. And we might do that again, because we did 2 in a row and they were both great.
Yeah, they were fantastic. I remember it was great for me because it was such an interesting mix of that weekend of conferences. There was the Ultimate Stage Hypnosis Conference. There was the Adult Video Network Awards.
Oh yeah, right.
There was the SHOT Show, the world's biggest gun show. And I'm literally like, I don't really know if I need to go to this next class.
And it was amazing how you did our conference and the adult conference together at the same time.
Together, exactly. Yeah.
Like, how'd you do it?
There was an interesting mix of people walking around that weekend. That is for certain.
Yeah, and they do have a big gun show in Vegas. Early in the year. Yeah. So stage hypnosis. I write an article for the NGH in their Journal of Hypnotism on stage hypnosis, and just talking about different tips and bring it back. I want to help. She's always so helpful too. And stage hypnosis is a great form of entertainment, and it could be, there's so many venues out there to perform in, and people think, well, maybe there's not a demand for shows, but there's just endless, beside colleges, universities, corporate, fundraisers, fairs or exhibitions.
I think for me, I don't think it's weird. There's a lot of people that learn stage hypnosis out there that are, I always say it's aggressively waiting for the phone to ring for jobs. Right. Whereas a lot of the times someone can go into a venue and go, I'm a stage hypnotist. Here's my poster. Here's my show reel. Would you like a show? And generally venues will go, oh, we've not had a stage hypnotist on here for 20 years. And they book a show. A lot of it is just knocking on doors and letting people know about it. There's so many people that haven't seen a stage hypnosis show yet.
So many.
And it's crazy. And I think us as stage hypnotists, which is why the conference was great, as stage hypnotists, we're all out doing our own thing. And sometimes we're recreating the wheel. And we're all out doing the same thing, but putting everybody together to learn from each other was such a great idea.
It is a good idea. You get little bits from each person, and if you walk away with one little gem, it's worth it. And it's good to build up camaraderie among stage hypnotists instead of the other way around. It was great. Sure, are we competitors? We're friendly competitors, I call it.
Exactly. It helps us all raise our game. I think hypnotherapists do really well because everyone's always trying to recreate or invent a new protocol or strategy or something. They're always trying to do something like that. Whereas stage hypnotists all tend to be doing our own individual things. So we're not competing with ourselves to do better. And so I do think that's great. And I made some fantastic friendships. Andy Venning, Jeff Benink. There's a few guys that were there that we really did have, friends to now since then. So
It's awesome.
yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
And you
But if you do it again, if you could time it to make sure it's on the same weekend as the Adult Video Awards again, that would be wonderful.
I'll ask you what the dates are. I'll just check with you because you'll know.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Go on.
You mentioned that we have something unique, and it's true. When the easy way to start up a conversation when you're with somebody on a plane or traveling, you ask them, "Hey, my name's Tom. What do you do for work?" And they go, "Oh, I'm a painter," or whatever. And after that, most likely they will say, "Well, what do you do?"
Yeah.
And then when you say stage hypnotist, you're right. Most people have never met a stage hypnotist or a hypnotist. And it's really unique to find a stage hypnotist. Then when you present it to a venue, they've had singers and magicians and comics and ventriloquists and all sorts of people, but then a hypnotist, wow, that's cool. And then the audience gets to volunteer. That's even better.
Exactly. It's such a great product in order to offer to sell venues, that especially now when their venues are more concerned about doing something different that their competitors aren't doing, getting bums on seats, because that's what we're going to do. We put bums on seats, venues are going to be happy, venues are going to book us. So since COVID, how are you finding audiences and shows in that sense since COVID?
The shows are fine. I think that people are loving that they can go out again.
Yeah.
And I go out too. I go see live music, and I went to a comedy show a week ago that was sold out. And the audiences are fine. They volunteer on stage. And I think back to during COVID when I did a couple shows where I had to wear a face shield and I didn't touch the volunteers. I do a lot of touching, appropriate. And I didn't touch, and the seats of my volunteers were separated. Usually they're tight together and they're leaning against each other. So things were different, but the show went on.
Yeah.
And the routines were a little bit different. So now we're pretty much maskless around here. There are people that choose to wear a mask, but it's not required.
I must admit, I'm seeing just generally in the town centre here where I am local, I'm seeing masks starting to make a bit of a comeback.
Yeah.
I think people are paranoid about it, but hopefully maybe this is a new thing. Maybe this is going to be a thing now that people will be wearing masks just to stop the spread of germs. So who knows?
Yep.
It's a crazy world when you think of everything that's gone on.
Nobody knows. We've never had this before.
Exactly.
But
Once we get all that sorted, Russia's going to drop a nuke on us anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's a joke. Not that you can joke about that. I take that back. Edit.
Right.
So yeah,
people are going to complain about that, but folks, remember, this is a comedy show.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that some guys are going to struggle with, and I've struggled with it on some venues, is how more sensitive people are to the material that we use. Stuff that 10, 15, 20 years ago was hilariously funny, now is frowned upon, and it needs I used to love, one of my favorite routines was the you can touch you on the shoulder, you'll only be able to speak your version of Japanese, which was hilarious back in the day. Now, audiences see that as being, more sensitive. So I think that's one of the challenges we're going to face.
That was one of my favorite closing routines. I call it the Japanese Emperor, and I like to talk about it for a minute. I never thought it was racist. People requested it. It was one of the highlights of the show. It was off the hook if you got a great subject to do it with.
Yeah.
And here's what happened one time. I do this Catholic high school every year. And the lay teacher hires me every year, man. And he said, Tommy, he goes, thanks for coming again. He goes, you got to do the Japanese emperor. It's so funny. Please do it. 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 Okay, I'll do it. So I do it. I always did it. And then Sister Superior comes up after the show and she says, Tommy, we love your show. You're going to come back next year, but that Japanese thing is not too cool. And I said, okay. And out of doing that hundreds and hundreds of times, I may have gotten a complaint from an Asian person, maybe twice. So, but here's how it went, because it is not only considered racist, but sexist too. So I'd like to tell you how I did it. I would tell the person to say, first do everything in English, and now you're a Japanese emperor. Now you speak fluent Japanese. You understand English, but you only speak Japanese. Whatever I say to you in English, you address to them in Japanese. So 1, 2, 3, eyes open. I say, tell them in Japanese, you are now in my village. And they make this, and tell them you're going to take all the men and chop them up into little pieces. That's violent. I'm going to take all the women back to the castle in a big party all night long. So that's how I did it. And looking back, it is kind of racist, but come on, this is comedy. And I never do that in high school anymore. No. My school shows are squeaky clean. And then depending on the venue, if it's a corporate show, I keep it pretty clean.
Yeah, I think again, as audiences have matured, there's more fascination, or a lot. Again, this is opinion. A lot of audiences are now fascinated and entertained by the process of hypnosis, whereas 20 years ago it was, the induction part was just, that was the vehicle. It was, let's make them do silly stuff. Now people, thanks to the likes of Derren Brown, Chris Angel, people have more a fascination of the psychology. I think the inductions can be just as entertaining as the shows as well, luckily.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because some people think that inductions are not interesting. And the audience, a lot of audiences expect to see an induction. They want to see people slumping over. They're deciding, the number 3 person, that one's in, that one's out.
Exactly.
They're doing all, and then all of a sudden, boom, you go into the routines, and they're like, wow, I think it's important. And my induction is 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes long. So it's not that long. And they like it.
Yeah. I think when audiences, like you said, that'd be perfect point when they go, oh yeah, look at number 3. Number 3's going. Number 4's the center. When audiences get involved that way, they're involved. They're immersed in it. Then they're looking to see who's going to go under, who's not going to go under, who's deeper than the next one. And as hypnotists, we can argue about the semantics of depth or in or out or anything like that. But the reality is as long as the audience is involved in it, they're entertained. So yeah, well, I love that.
Our number one job is to entertain. That's it. Not to convince. The induction's the best part. People always believe it's fake, even when they correct. Now, it's funny, after the show, some of those people will come up to you and tell you, instead of saying, oh my God, that person you had do the emperor, that was the deepest subject, they tell you, oh, the person on the end, they weren't hypnotized. They come up and tell you that. Oh, really? Yeah. But
I sometimes like those though. The person that is struggling, they're not fully immersed in the hypnosis, and they're struggling with the suggestion. I think it gives a level of authenticity sometimes to the process, because people go, oh, they didn't respond to that, but they responded to this. So they're then trying to figure it out, which is great. So yeah, I love that.
I did a holiday party for a corporate group a few weeks ago, an early party. And I did this for the same company about 4 years ago. They had me come back again. Smaller audience, 50 people, which I don't love, but it's fine. But they had me there before, so everything's cool. They had me go on before dinner, and it was at a beautiful resort up in Maine, right on the ocean. And all the guests were there. They're going to have a lobster clam bake to eat and stay overnight. It's only an hour from my house. So I went on at 7:00. And what I wanted to mention was that, to me, the show was not great. I ended up at the very end with one subject, but that person was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I started with about 12 people, but ended up with, and then whittled down and finally get down to 1. And as Jerry Valley taught me, you can always do a show, if necessary, with one person. And that's important to know, because
Yeah.
one time my dad was out there, had a rough show, and gave up because he got down to one. He didn't know he could do it with one. And it's not you can't do giant big group routines, and it's not thunderous funny, but the show goes on. And this woman that I ended up with was fabulous.
It's a great point of that whole knowing you can do a good show with one person. There's a hypnotist who's a great guy local here that does a fantastic show. And the first time I saw a one volunteer show, I was blown away by it. And what was brilliant by it is the fact of a lot of guys, and I suffered from this myself, when you start losing your volunteers, and sometimes it happens, you start losing your volunteers and you get down to, 3, and then you take your foot off the gas a little bit. And so rather than pushing for a great show, you come back for a milder show with 3 people, but better to exactly that, keep the foot on the gas and have a brilliant show with one person than an okay show with 3 or 4 people. So yeah. And there's a great show called Hypprov, which is a mix of it's a great idea. So simple. Hypnosis mixed with improv. And yeah, it's Colin Mockery and Asad Mekki.
Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I saw it years ago at the Edinburgh Fringe. It's now on Broadway.
It plays it plays in the US everywhere.
Yeah, it's a brilliant show. But the premise of that is, you start with a theatre of, 1,000 people, and they go, we're looking for 5 people.
Yeah.
We're just looking for 5 people who are going to be the next improv stars. Great setup for a show. And again, just by putting in those little lines, we're looking for the next improv stars, it just presupposes it's going to be a great show. But it's not about, and as hypnotists, again, this is my opinion, as hypnotists, sometimes for our ego, we want 30 people, all somnambulists, all super deep audio, whatever. Audiences don't need that. They can't focus on all those people. So yeah, it's
you remember Pat Collins? She always had like 6 chairs on stage, maybe 8, but I think it was 6. And that was fine.
Yeah.
However, a couple things in her favor, big things. She was on television on the I Love Lucy show several times.
Yeah.
Her nightclub was on Hollywood Boulevard, and with the lights and everything. So people paid to get in to see her. So everybody in that audience was there to see a great show.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that makes a difference. I think especially audiences' attention spans now with the, when it kind of went like MTV, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, people's attention spans are so much shorter now. I think we do have challenges coming up, but I think it's all good. It makes us work a little bit harder and makes work a little bit better.
Right.
But yeah, I know. TikTok's a bit crazy at the moment, but it's a necessary evil, but a great marketing platform.
I have not used it. For any marketing, you do use it, Grant?
Yeah, do you know what? I used to try and put out quality content on there. Now, I'll be dead honest. If I'm in the middle of a routine and it's quite funny on stage, I'll get my iPhone out and literally walk along the line of the volunteers. So it's getting their facial expressions in it. 1 minute clip, and then not even edit it, just put that on TikTok. And it gets a good response because people see the laughter, they see the response on there. And that has been quite good for me for marketing, which is, and again, anything that you can get clients and it doesn't cost you any money is a bonus.
Are those 1 minute clips? Is that what they are?
1 minute clips. I don't even go longer than 1 minute because of how the algorithm works. If somebody watches the video twice, it tricks the algorithm into thinking it's a really popular video because people are watching it multiple times. So if the clip is like 30 seconds to a minute, people watch it, get to the end, and it starts to play again automatically. And then they go, oh, this is repeated. So sometimes you'll get 1, 2, maybe 3 views, and it helps with the algorithm.
Okay.
No, but when I started these Glamp Talks Funny Bits, we had a guest on who mentioned TikTok, and I'm like, I don't do silly dances. It's not for me. But I went on there and I've not looked back. I don't post on there as much as I should do.
Right.
but it has done its job. So
There's so many things to do, you know,
oh,
as a stage hypnotist. People think, oh, we just go out at 9 o'clock at night and do a 1 hour show and get paid. And,
oh,
that's just the highlight of the day.
that's the tip. It's everything else that goes with it. And like you said, there's so much you could do. If you wrote it down, it's overwhelming. But I think you find a couple of things that work really well,
Right.
and you work on that. And I think, you know, once you've been in the industry as long as you have, you've got those contacts. You work your lists as well. And I think a
Right.
lot of the newer guys, that's what they suffer from. They start without any contacts and struggle. I think it's what is it? It's about the time in the game.
Yep. Repeat business is beautiful. It's lovely.
Yeah.
You know, when if whether it's every year or every 2 years or whatever it is, to get the same business from the same person or company or school, it's gold. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, what's she saying now?
She's saying, "I'm sorry. Who was it that told you to go on TikTok?" Pretty sure that was also me.
Yeah.
It was, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bless. So, what's new? I mean, I've seen you've just put. Was it your dad's book you were promoting? But you've got the book out there. What's next for you?
Well, maybe move to Florida.
Somewhere warm.
I live in New Hampshire and I've been here, I'd like to say all my life, but that wouldn't be true. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. I hate the cold more and more every year. So maybe moving to a warmer climate. I've been working on my own book for a long time now, which has been on stage hypnosis. I haven't finished it. I've got a great outline done. I've got a lot of chapters finished. And trying to get onto cruise ships. I would like to do that because it sounds attractive.
Mm.
And just plugging away, working in my office too.
Yeah. Jeff Bennick has a great question. What's your process? What do you do to write new routines?
Oh, that's my weak feature. I called Jeff Bennick and asked him for advice. You know, if you see something funny somewhere, whether you're out with your friends or you're watching a cartoon or something,
Yeah.
you know, you have to have a good imagination to do that. And I'm weak in that area, unfortunately, and I'll admit it. Or to put a twist on a routine, a different twist to make it different. That's what you want to do. But if you see something funny out on the street, run it by your friends and ask them what they think. Because here's another true story. A student of ours called Michael DeShalit for some advice. He said, when they're flying over in an airplane over a nudist camp, sometimes we will off microphone tell a couple subjects, use your binoculars. And then they do this and the audience thinks they did it on their own. So he wants to bring, check this out. He goes, I want to bring toilet paper rolls and tape a whole bunch like this, with the toilet paper on them.
Yeah.
Like about 8 of them. So Michael says, wait a minute, that sounds pretty good, but wait, you got 15 people in your show. You're going to travel with eight rolls per person times 15. You're going to go out and buy 100 rolls of toilet paper everywhere you go. And then who's going to clean up the stage afterwards?
Yeah.
So you really have to think out your routines too.
Yeah.
And bounce them off some people.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I think, again, why the conference was great. You get a couple of hypnotists together, sharing ideas. You can figure out what's funny and, you know, the challenges to make that work as well.
And then you try it. And if it flies, you use it. And if it dies, you can it.
Exactly. I know I've got a great routine, which Michael Johns wrote for me, which was fantastic. And I think that's it sometimes. Like, sometimes if you're not great at writing comedy or writing routines, find someone that is. There's guys out there that are brilliant at that, and say, listen, I like that routine. Can I borrow it? Can I change it? Or can you write me a routine similar like that? So yeah, absolutely. I
love Michael Johns, by the way.
Yeah.
He's an awesome stage hypnotist and a funny guy and sincere. Great guy.
Genuinely nice guy. And again, I met him at your conference. struck up a conversation. I didn't know who he was at the time.
Yeah.
We struck up a
And
conversation.
he spoke. He spoke to our
Yeah.
group after lunch, I think.
Yeah, he did.
It was nice. Yeah, he was wicked cool.
What I loved about Michael when he was there at the conference, and it was a moment for me as well, is he was so authentic with it. And I remember there was a moment where it was like, if you could, I think the question was, if you could give yourself some advice again, you know, or give your younger self some advice, what would it be? And everyone, as stage hypnotists do, were all like, oh, we do this, we do that, we do that. And I remember he said something along the lines of, I would tell myself to get out when it stopped being fun.
Right.
And I thought, you know what, that was a really honest and authentic thing to say. And I think sometimes you've got to do that. You've got to stay with your passion. And when it becomes too much work, you kind of got to step away a little bit. Adam Richard Dealer is here as well. He says hello. He's a bit late to the party.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah. So so you say you're working on a book. Is there a time frame for that?
No, no, not bad. You know, I have some free time, so I should put the hammer down and chip away at it every day instead of once in a while. No, I don't have a time frame. But that's the problem.
It's, I think, the beginning of the pandemic, I said to myself, this is the only time I'm ever going to have the time to do it. I'm going to write a book.
Right.
Instead, I started live streaming.
You started what?
I started live streaming. I started doing these.
Yeah. You know, what you just said about setting a time, a deadline might be a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, if I said, you know, next April, I want the book done. Well, now I know.
Well, you've said by next April, the book is going to be done. We will hold you to that. So, yes. And it would be great to have you back on when the book is out so we can promote that as well.
Sure.
So whilst we're talking about promoting books, we have the Inside Secrets of Stage Hypnotism. Tell us about this.
That's my dad's book. That was written by Jerry Valley. It's a nuts and bolts book. How to do stage hypnotism, how to do a show. There's actually 3 shows in there of different routines of Jerry's show. He covers your, you know, introduction, your pre-talk, your induction, all the routines, microphone technique. You know, I know a hypnotist or 2 that have just read the book and done shows.
Wow.
So it's a bestseller. It's a good book, and not just because it's my dad's. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You think it's $30 or something. It is a good book.
And it's a stage hypnotist. We've got to keep investing in our craft and getting better. You know, I mean, I wish I had the confidence now as what I had when I was 5 years in.
Right. Oh my God.
It's just like, it's nuts now. And I see some of the younger guys, and I don't want to be one of the older guys, but I see some of the younger guys coming through that are, you know, the world's greatest. And I'm like, oh, and it's like to have that confidence. And it's, well, I think what he says, the more you know, the more you don't know. And it's crazy.
There's always room for improvement. And if you think about it, professional athletes, professional speakers, actors, they go for training. You don't hear about it all the time, but they do.
Yeah.
They want to get better. I think that's what elevates the good ones to the great ones. What's the difference? Yeah. It's an attitude and training.
Yeah.
I'll always go see a stage hypnosis show if I'm not working.
Yeah.
I love seeing them, number one, and I'm learning what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, some guys learn it in order to make money, and then when they've learned enough to earn some money at it, stay there.
Right.
And I think the difference is the people that are, you know, networking within the community, trying to get better, trying to find that one little language pattern or that little touch, or that, like you said then, and it's a great point, microphone technique. No one teaches microphone technique anymore. Right. All of these little things are the little bits that make the difference.
You know, you see professional newscasters on television, speakers and so on, that don't know how to use the microphone, put the mic where the sound is, and they'll interview somebody and they'll say, tell us where you're from, and they keep the microphone in front of their own face. You know, it's simple, but it's important.
Yeah. You know, that's why I always use a handheld. I mean, I used to have the headset thing, but the handheld gives me so much vocal control. If I want to do an embedded command, I can move the microphone just closer to my voice, and you just get that deeper kind of resonance, which works really well.
Plus, the other advantage of the handheld is you can put it in your subject's face if you ask them a question.
Yeah.
Also, another advantage for me, I do a lot of off microphone suggestions
Yeah.
that I don't want the audience to hear, but I want the subjects to hear. So
Yeah.
I'll drop the mic and say, use your binoculars
Yeah.
or something like that. And then there's a little bit of acting. You act, you hear the audience erupt in laughter. You know that they're doing this, and you act surprised. So
Yeah.
there's another advantage. You can't give those off mic commands if you have a handheld, a headset. You have to click it off every time.
Yeah. It's I can't remember who taught it me, but it's a great technique, especially during like the rock band bit, where you can literally just off mic, touch them on the shoulder and say, go for it. And it automatically, it looks like to the audience watching, it looks like that person has just jumped out the chair and is going crazy and moshing out. But it's not,
brilliant.
it's just that little off mic suggestion that just pushes them a little bit further. It
Those-
takes them from a 7 to a 10.
It absolutely does elevate your show.
Yeah.
And they think the audience thinks it happens spontaneously on their own.
Yeah. Jeff Benning says, great thing that stagecraft and techniques are needed by performers. Absolutely. It's not what suggestion needs to be done, what deepener needs to be done, whatever. For me, it's all the little bits in between those, the off mic suggestions, the eye contact with the audience, when we look shocked and surprised, the audience thinks it's the first time we've seen that happen. And I think that's where the skill is, trying to look sincere in looking at, like you're shocked by what's happening.
Even though it happens every night.
every night. And that's the magic for me, when you can line up the spontaneous reaction, when you can line that up and it fires off perfectly. And it delivers. The audience thinks they've seen something unique.
Yes.
And it's, that's what they want to see. They want to see something special and unique for them.
Yep. Our job is to entertain, baby.
Exactly.
We are paid to make the people laugh. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't get in arguments after the show about whether hypnosis is real or whether it's fake. You'll spend hours and hours. You don't get involved. If someone says, hey, that was really funny as hell, but I didn't believe any of it, I go, great, that's awesome. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah.
And then the next person might say, when I came in here, I didn't believe in hypnosis, but now I do, and it was funny. Great. Either way, it's great.
Exactly. Yeah. That is the right response. Whatever they say, just go, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your favorite type of routine to do?
I like the missing belly button.
Yeah.
It's a classic. Yeah. And instead of just saying your belly button's missing, I tell them that when I ask you, why do you want it back? You make up a weird answer. Not that I was born with it. Not that I had it this morning. None of that. The weirdest answer is the best.
Yeah.
So then first you get the belly buttons missing, and they're all looking, and some of them cry a lot of real tears, especially from women. And you can encourage crying too. If someone's sniffling, you can go up with the microphone and go, "What's the matter? Are you going to cry? Because I would." And they start crying.
Yeah.
I lost track for a second. So when
deep belly button.
Yeah, then don't just walk away. It's what's the matter? My belly button's missing. And don't just move to the next person. Why do you want it back? Well, I need it to make phone calls. Well, don't walk away from that. Milk that. Well, what do you mean phone calls? You mean long distance, or is it a video?
Such a great point. Such a great point.
Don't stop. You got to milk.
So many guys I see. When I say guys, I mean people.
Yes.
Will go through the routines. Like you said, sometimes stay with it. Milk as much comedy from that bit as you can, and then move on.
Right. You have to keep a keen ear out of what they're saying on stage, because you're walking around and sometimes running around, and somebody, you say something to one person, say, what do you need your belly button for? And this person answers you, but 3 down here, you hear something weird like, well, I call Mars every night. You hear that, but the audience didn't. So you turn around, you run over to that person, and to get them to repeat it, you say, what did you say? Microphone in their mouth. Oh, I went to Mars. So you got to listen. It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-ring circus, except it's a 14-ring circus.
It's a 14-ring circus, and you were juggling chainsaws that are on fire.
That are on fire.
Yeah, exactly. It is craziness. It is craziness.
It is, because you're a director, you're a casting director, safety director, make sure everybody's safe, all that, and listening to the applause of the audience, listen to it rising, and all that, playing your music.
As well as looking after the volunteers, you've got to look after the audience, if you know what I mean. And again, it's something I see guys do is, they're so focused on their volunteers and whether they're hypnotized or not, they're losing the fact that the audience, as the energy's dropped and the audience is just not there anymore. So you've got to be aware of what's going on there, what's going on here, your music, your lighting, everything. It's, I don't know why we do it, Tommy. Why do we do it? Should have been DJs instead.
Because we love it. And I'll tell everybody listening, if you haven't done stage hypnosis show, that you can do one. You have to learn how to do it, of course, but you can do it. And people might say, well, I'd be too nervous. Well, that's because you don't know how to do it yet. And once you start rolling and you get a couple under your belt, it's a good feeling, but don't get drunk with power. Some people hit, look what I did. No, we are powerless without those volunteers. Powerless. So give the credit to them.
Right? I think you go through that cycle. You start off and then you just want to be able to do a show, and then you'd be able to do a show and you do it quite well. Then it does go to your head a little bit, and I've always find that just when my ego just gets a little bit too big, a show will come along to teach me a lesson.
It kicks you in the ass.
Oh, absolutely. And then you start back there and you're like, I don't even know if I know how to do this anymore. And you keep following that cycle. Just as you think you're up here, something will come along and teach you a lesson.
You go, oh yeah, right. I forgot, man.
Jeff Bennick says it is addictive.
It is.
It really is.
You get high on stage. It's true. Because and then it goes away when you leave. And we are like actors in a play who experience the same thing in front of a live audience. When famous movie actors, they film a movie, they don't have that.
No.
They don't have that. There's no live audience. But when you're in front of a live audience, you hear people laughing and crying, and you're doing that. You're producing the show that does that. It's awesome. It's a high. It's really good. It's a great feeling. And then you leave and you're like, I can't wait to get back on stage.
Yeah, I always talk about that, the Monday and Tuesday blues, and you've had a good weekend of shows and you've got that adrenaline, and then the drive home, and then the adrenaline, and then the traveling, and then the adrenaline and the traveling. And then Monday comes along or Tuesday comes along and you're like, oh. And so, it's a bit of a crazy feeling. Darren Fraser says, hi guys, sorry I'm late, but I'll catch the entire replay. Darren, great to see you, buddy.
Darren,
website, where can people find you?
They can find me at tommyvee.com, TOMMYVEE.com. My phone number is there. Email is there. That's my website, tommyvee.com. Reach out to me and I'll talk to anybody. We can do a Zoom call or a YouTube call, whatever.
Let me just put a link to that in the comment section.
That would be cool.
There we go. Edit. Paste. I'm doing this whilst we're live just because I like to fly by the seat of my pants.
Oh, that's right.
There we go. I'll put that up there. That's actually the cover from the book, but it will bring up the link to the tommyvee.com there as well, which is awesome. So cool. So if guys want to get in touch with you to, maybe talk about mentoring, training, skits, routines, stage hypnosis, they can do that there.
Sure. Yeah, I usually do one group training a year in the summer, and then throughout the year, I'm always available to do private training. A 3-day training. It could be one-on-one. It could be with a couple people, 2 or 3 or 4 people, but one-on-one. Then we can do that anytime.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's one of those. I think it's important to do that. When a lot of guys, when they start out, they are on YouTube and books and DVDs and online courses, which is great. But then I think the first opportunity, once you start to make some revenue, get yourself to a proper course and learn it in a class with some people. And then once you've done that and you're earning some more money from it, then getting into those one-on-ones and those mentoring, I think is what helps you kind of really take your stage hypnosis career to that next level. Otherwise, you stay stuck doing the same mistakes that everybody else is doing at the same time that everybody else is doing them. So, yeah, it's always good to have as many mentors as possible.
I think it makes common sense to learn from somebody who's been doing it or is doing it. They've been, through the trenches. They can. Same thing with my daddy. I didn't have to go through all those trenches that he did. I certainly started at the bottom and worked up, but so find somebody who's out there who's done it. Be sure of your instructors is my point there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, beware the YouTube gurus. So, yeah. Fantastic. Tommy, it's been an absolute real pleasure to have you back on again as well.
It's awesome to talk to you.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I should be at Vegas this year.
Awesome.
So that should be good to come and see you again.
Yeah.
And,
you'll be out in January too, right? In Vegas?
Yes, yeah. So I think I'm spending more time over there this next year than what I am spending over here, which is good.
Yeah, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you for having me on board here.
It's been a real pleasure. A real pleasure. Guys, don't forget, check out Tommy's socials, his website, and everything he's doing as well. And don't forget, world exclusive, April next year, Tommy Vee's book will be out for stage hypnotists. And if you meet that April deadline, Tommy, whilst I've got you here, do I get the first copy?
You sure do. Autograph.
There we go. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Tommy, it's been a real pleasure. Good luck with everything you've got going on as well. And guys, thank you for joining us again this week. Next week, same time right here on Sunday, Grant Talks Funny Bits, where we talk to expert stage hypnotists about stories from the world. Please put the applause emoji in the comment section for Tommy, and don't forget to check out his socials, guys. Take care. God bless.
Peace.
See you later, Tommy.